Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, gonna talk some boxing. I'm what you need. You're watching my channel. If you like what you're seeing in this video, comment, subscribe, share, and you can donate via Western Union or MoneyGram. Let's get into this topic of Billy Joe Saunders. Now, just to recap, Billy Joe Saunders went up on social media and said a very inflammatory, very inciting violence statement. He talked not just in the statement form, but he demonstrated uh, violence and unprovoked initiated violence, meaning the person who started the violence would be the person he's demonstrating. As to see, there's a difference between you initiating violence and you defending yourself. So Billy Joe Saunders, he's demonstrating initiation of violence. Whereas the other person, the subject in this thing, and he's specific about a woman, wife particularly, that person is the one who, yes, nagging, probably even trying to be very aggressive, but the initiation of the violence, he's instructing the men to be so. Now, a lot of people have the convention, and I somewhat agree with it, that a man should not hit a woman. Of course, there are exceptions to that. But in this case, Billy Joe Saunders is trying to basically convey something and a mindset that many men think like that. Now, I was just watching a stand-up comedy, and one comedian, he expressed how violence against women is wrong, but yet women should shut their damn mouth. Sometimes they talk too damn much. So there's a sentiment out there by almost every man, there are those who are educated differently, that sometimes women try to challenge men, and therefore it justifies a man being violent towards a woman. Now, let me first say this. So Billy Joe Saunders is not doing something in a vacuum. You know, we like to label people, but he's actually expressing a sentiment that a lot of men think. Okay? This is not something uncommon. And that's why in boxing, you find a lot of boxers who are involved in domestic violence. And I bring up also the footballer and his wife, the footballer, he beat up the wife inside of the elevator and beat her up like a rag doll. And she was fighting back, but she was no match for him. Okay? This is a footballer. So let's address this issue first before I go into Billy Joe Saunders and what he himself stated. Now, one of the things I always say to everybody, and it's a very powerful thing, that men, true men, display is ability to keep their composure under any situation. I am not that, but I really long to reach that level. And all women are curious and they test boundaries. And if you've been in a relationship with a woman, she's going to at some point test your limit as a man. They're very curious. You know, they say men are dogs, women are cats. To some degree, that is very true. Men are very vocal and outward. Women are more coy, strategic, and they test things. So, if a woman is coming at you really hard, she does not hit you. She's being pretty aggressive, pretty venomous. You as a man, and this is a very hard thing to do because I myself have been involved in domestic violence with my ex, okay? And I'm being open and honest with you guys. I'm not going to be a hypocrite on here. She hit me a couple times. I never hit her, but I put my hands on her neck And I didn't choke her, but I was on the verge of doing that. Okay. And many other things I can speak to you guys about in that relationship, which was pretty heated and up and down because of the situation we were in. That showed me as a person how easily men could do some really bad things. So I say this to give a learning point to all you guys that Billy Joe Saunders is not saying something in a vacuum. That's the first point. Now, do I agree with what the BFC has done to him? Absolutely. That's a no-no, especially when you're a public figure out here and people listen to you. And I personally like Billy Joe Saunders' style. I love his boxing skill. I'm not saying he's an angel or a saint. I know he's a Christian. But this brings a nice talking point for us to talk about and discuss. All right? How do you as a man keep your composure under every single situation? Unless those situations present themselves, sometimes you fail, you will not know. So, first thing I want to say to all men out there, now there's something like we are both equal, men and women. It's not exactly true in a certain context, and let me just explain to you guys. Men and women occupy different roles. We are equals in the sense that though we have different roles, we should be treated both with respect and love. Anyone should be treated that way. So we're equal in that respect. However, we are not equal in terms of how society deems us, in terms of how we behave. And you can see it in the treatment of men. If a woman was to say this, let's say Clarissa Shields was to say something outlandish like that, it wouldn't be taken the same way as a man. And this is because the media has propagated men getting kicked in the nuts, getting slapped by women, and that's almost an okay. All right? Because it's assumed, and even my girlfriend assumed that men are not emotional, that they're tough, and they can take it. And that is not true. Okay? And I wanted to speak about this because a lot of us as men, though we're testosterone driven a lot, and we weep and we mourn, and we are disappointed just like women, we just express it in a different kind of way in the Western world. I don't know, for the Eastern world, it's a little bit different. So, why I say all of this is because I think it's important for us as men, particularly, or what we call ourselves men. A lot of us behave like boys. I am one of them. But as we grow into the man that we're supposed to be, as protectors as well. Not saying that women aren't protectors, but we're just built physically that way. We're protectors. Now, a lot of us, like police and so on, we turn on women or we turn on the children, and we are not protectors. But we should be protectors. If a woman's comfortable around you, she will unveil herself and she will behave in a manner that you've never seen her behave. And that's okay. Because you as a man, when you get comfortable with a woman, will also behave in a manner that she's never seen you behave. And so that you hear women say, he's not the one I was dating. And he says the same thing. Because you let your belly down. And it's good because that's intimacy. But the problem with that is a lot of us come with baggage. A lot of us come with baggage. And we forget that because we're comfortable with a person, it doesn't mean we shouldn't put our best foot forward still. And so, just talking relationships, from what I learned in my relationship, if you really love somebody, you have to be careful how you deal with them, because not only are you affecting yourself by dealing with people that way from a selfish perspective, but you're also affecting your kids. You're also affecting their family. You're also affecting your family. And nothing concealed will not be found out. Okay? You can't hide this shit. You can't. All right? If you're abusing her, she's going to behave differently to if she wasn't abused. And we're talking verbal abuse, emotional abuse, all kinds. The woman knows Just like you kind of know in the back of your head, but you're second guessing if she was to do you something. All right? One of the things you notice is women who are being abused, they're not as socially chitty chatty. They don't just talk. Some women are not chitty chatty, but my point is, when they get around people they know, they start to really run. You know, women can talk, man. They can really talk, and I can really talk. As you see, I go for hours because I don't, in my personal life with other people, talk that much. Okay? And to see women talking in their element and just really going at it is beautiful. All right? That means that person's comfortable to a certain degree with the person who's their protector. Now, she looks out for us as well. Women look out for us the same way. They're protectors, but in a different kind of way. They're incredible protectors, remarkable protectors, because they can go through the emotional element, the physical element, and if necessary, they can take it to another level physically. All right? Don't think the woman can't take down a man. A woman can take down a man. Okay? Y'all just don't think it's smart. We're not as smart as they are. They can take you down. And they can take you down emotionally, mentally, and then physically. They can take you down. Trust me. Okay? So, don't get it twisted. Just because you might have bigger bone structure, more muscles, and some of y'all think because you're men, you're stronger than your wives. They be in the gym working out. Your ass ain't in the gym working out. They will take you down. They know martial arts and shit, and you don't know that shit. They will take you down, okay? So that sort of old school thought, you know, the women are gentler and stuff. It depends on the situation, ninja. You could be 6'4", 250 something pounds, okay? And a woman 5'3", take your ass down. She take you down. Okay? Because it's not just the dimensions and size, it's what you working with, baby. What you working with, okay? Just like how in boxing, a guy of a lower weight class can knock out a guy from a higher weight class. It's possible. Don't get it twisted. All right? A little woman, she can take out a big man, okay? Don't get it twisted. All right? If you don't know the person and you don't know the specifics, do not engage in battle with them. All right? I met a small little woman. Her name was Bud, Miss Bud. 5'2". She built like a tank, though. She's about 70-something years old. And her husband came home one day. We're talking a 5'11" guy, tall, powerfully built. And she asked him, because he had been out for like 17 hours, didn't come home. So she was like, why didn't you come home? This is in the days before, you know, cell phones and shit. So she was worried as shit. She said, why you didn't come home? You know, he didn't have nothing to call. He just walked by her and went into the room. He didn't even respond. He just went into his room. He said nothing. So she came into the room following him saying, why didn't you let me know what's going on? Can you let me know what's going on? Because she obviously was nervous. She's happy he came back, but she's nervous. He said nothing. So what did she do? She was versed in fighting. She took his ass down. She high-falled his ass. That ninja started talking after that. All right, she sneaked up behind him and high-falled him. And she said, well, what the fuck? You know, she went in on him. She didn't curse, but. And he went back to work next day. He was in healthcare. And he said, you know, my wife, man, she just high-falled me. And he hurt himself, obviously, his head and stuff. And the guys was like, why? He said, well, she was keep on asking me, you know, what happened? How are you doing? What's going on? What happened? I didn't answer. And they was like, you deserve that, motherfucker. You deserve that shit. You're supposed to talk to her. You need to let her know. You've been out for 17 fucking hours. What happened? I told my wife what happened. And so it's communication, right? Different people are different strokes. But at the end of the day, of course she could have waited for a spouse to talk. Yeah, high-falling is domestic violence. But guess what? He never did that again. Right? He never did that again. Right? Sometimes in a relationship, if you're not being reasonable, it's your fault, right? It was his fault. Now, that's domestic violence, but she got her point across. She little, he big. I'm gonna take your ass down. You gonna tell me, motherfucker, because I'm worried about your ass. Now, most people said, man, she was right when he talked about it. It was like, but she shouldn't put her hands on me like that. It was like, man, motherfucker, she probably was worried about you. And she trying to find out what the fuck happened. All right? Then he explained it to her. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but my point is, a small little woman like that, 5'2", okay, she built like a tank though. She's broad. She knew how to wrestle. She knew how to fight. She's fighting since she was little. Took his ass down. He never tried to do that again to her, right? Now, you flip the script, small little man, big woman, and you see that happen, I know society would say, oh, shit, right? He should never do that. He should call the cops or whatever. But it depends on the situation, right? All right, so let's get into it, though. My point is that in a relationship, the dynamics is kind of interesting. Sometimes people do some wrong things, but it's a dynamic thing, okay? Relationships are tricky to really deal with in specifics. But at the end of the day, my point is that Billy Joe Saunders is expressing something that is really true. Like, you know, these days it's not PC to beat your children. It's not PC to beat them, right? But if I had kids, I'll beat them. Yeah, if I have to, if that's an option, I'll beat them. I'm not gonna beat them in anger and stuff, but I systematically beat them. And the point being, different strategies apply for different folks. Of course, you gotta be careful. Like, for instance, in her case, the woman I talked about, Miss Bud, she high-foiled her husband, but she didn't go and beat on him and beat on him. You understand what I'm saying? She said, I need to reach this guy somehow, some way, so I'm gonna do this, okay? Obviously, she sneaked up behind him because he's a bigger dude. He could have probably overpowered her if she didn't know what she was doing. Now, we laugh at this. But the point is, she systematically and mentally decided, I need to make a point to this dude because he don't get it. Now, if a man was to do something like that, again, most people come down on him. That's why I say we're not equal. I mean, he's assumed to be stronger and all that. But at the end of the day, the point is that in relationships, sometimes people do different kinds of things to get the other spouse's attention. Could she have just listened to him, wait for him to answer? Of course. But it's not a perfect world. And if you guys really think about it, we strive to be as good as possible. There is a lot of domestic violence that happens in homes, especially with spicy relationships. I saw a pastor, he killed his wife, then killed himself, okay? I've seen two very high prominent people in ministry go at each other, and the man stomped the woman's pussy, and the woman bit the man's dick, okay? They was going cat and dog on each other, okay? The point being, you know, people are extreme like that when they get mad, okay? I've seen a lot of shit. Well, one thing about me, I never hit my ex, okay? I never hit her. I really wanted to choke the shit out of her once, but I didn't do that either, okay? I reined it in. Thank God I did. Because she lost her shit and she was hitting me like she was just clocking my ass, okay? It got violent and she was the one violent, but at the end of the day, I understood. And as a man, you know, I calmed down, but she lost her shit and she wanted to tell all the neighbors and everybody what I did. And I obviously panicked because but my point is that at the end of the day, I'm letting you guys know this is a real thing. Okay, it's real. And in this time with the coronavirus, this is not a good situation to be in. I was thankful that my ex, she just got more incensed by that because some women, they back down, you know. But I don't want to hit her and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But she was strong as well. My girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, she was very strong. Once she high-foiled me. Shit, she was bad, man. She was bad. I not trying to put her in a bad life. I did some shit too, so don't get it twisted. I may not have hit her or anything, But I grab her or whatever, lift her up physically, I let her know, man, I'm stronger than you. The fuck you think you doing? you know. But it's something that you have to understand. And in relationships, it can get really bad. People throw insults and stuff. So I wanted to make sure that you guys get this, okay? And I want you guys to understand that don't point the finger at different people in a relationship. Pointing fingers sometimes is a bad thing. You take action, right? You don't want to lose the person. They don't want to lose you, okay? So you have to work your way through that. It means counseling and all that stuff, because that's the problem with relationships. That's why I'm single still. They are problematic. And a lot of people go into relationships for the wrong reason with somebody for long-term stuff. They go into it for the wrong reason. So I spent 21 minutes, almost 22 minutes talking about relationships. Billy Joe Saunders. So I'm not completely, going to go in on Billy Joe Saunders. I know he did something really stupid, like I said, idiotic in my last video. But I understand it's a real situation he's actually demonstrating. It's very real. That's how men think sometimes. Not all of them. And it took me, a long time to understand that. So that's a real thing. And I hope we discuss that as men and as women. There are certain things that men can only relate, only other men can relate to the stuff that a man might say. Because a lot of people perceive us a certain way. And that's not the case, right? So, and women too, they sometimes come across a certain way, but they actually are doing something totally different. And as men, we don't really fully understand that. And that's okay. Getting to know somebody in a relationship involves all of this. Nobody perfect, so don't make it like, she need to be this and she need to be that. Fuck no. She came there like that. Or he came there like that. So don't be telling people what they should be and shouldn't be. Don't do that. Right? It doesn't mean you got to live with that for the rest of your life. But you have to assess the situation and decide what you think is best for you. Okay, so back to Billy Joe Saunders. So, yeah, he's been suspended by the BBC. That doesn't really stop him from having a fight in Las Vegas. Okay, BBC is for Britain, right? UK. But having said all of that, Canelo, like I was listening on DAZN, Canelo can make the decision. I don't approve of that. You lost the fight, buddy. Okay? And in the wings, I heard Showbiz the Adult talking about this. Sergio Moore didn't say anything, or Chris Mannix, but Showbiz the Adult had a great replacement. Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade is very similar in style and stance to Billy Joe Saunders. That's a perfect fight for Canelo. He don't got the complexion, for the protection. He's black and, sometimes he wears dreadlocks. But Demetrius Andrade had a sensational win against his last opponent who should not have been in the ring with him. And Billy Joe Saunders didn't look that great. So why not Canelo face Demetrius Andrade? At 168. Pull him up to 168. Not a problem. Or if you want, go back down to 160 and face him. But at the end of the day, that is a great fight. Canelo being the former WBO light heavyweight champion. Demetrius Andrade being the WBO middleweight champion. Make Andrade come up 1, Canelo come down 1. They meet at 168 and they get it on, baby. I love that fight. I love that. That's a fight I always wanted to see. And Demetrius Andrade, in my opinion, has showed that he is, top notch, if not the first, if not the number 1 middleweight to challenge Canelo. The number 2 is either between him and Billy Joe Saunders. Them two, they on another level. Caleb Plant I think he still needs some experience, and he said that. But when it comes to Andrade and Billy Joe Saunders, they have a track record. Billy Joe Saunders, 2-time world champion. Andrade, 2-time world champion. Andrade came up from 154. Saunders came up from 160. It's great. Saunders lost his opportunity, in my opinion. I don't think Canelo should try and make the fight with him. He should focus on Andrade. And, it's a tough fight. No, let's not play around here. Both guys are going to be tough fights for Canelo. If you guys know boxing, they tough. Okay? This is a tough-ass fight. And why? Again, skills. A lot of you guys don't understand boxing. It's about what you can do in that ring, which means these guys have much more options as to how they can fight a fight. And that makes it more difficult. A guy like Gennady Golovkin, he fights off his jab. Yeah, he comes forward. He tries to overpower you. That's his status quo. He might go off the defense and pop his jab. But guys like Demetrius Andrade and Billy Joe Saunders, besides being southpaw, they also can do so many things. They can fight on the inside, mid-range. They can fight on the outside. All right, they can walk to you. They can go on the back foot. They use lateral. Both of them use lateral movement. Okay, they got great pivot work. Billy Joe Saunders not seen as a knockout artist, but his last fight he knocked out the dude. Right, guy came up from 154, of course, or was it 160? I can't remember. But when it comes to Demetrius Andrade, they both getting the job done. They knocking out whoever, or they're stopping whoever, or they're winning their fights. Demetrius Andrade looked more convincing against this fight, even though he got the guy out later. He dominated much more than Billy Joe did. But at the end of the day, this is a fight I want to see. I want to see Demetrius. And Jamal Charlo was great and all that, but I don't think of Jamal Charlo as better than Demetrius Andrade. I just don't, people. I don't. All right? Demetrius Andrade has been smoking his competition, and he's faced better competition than Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo has faced guys, his best win was against Matt Korobov, and that's disputable, okay? But when it comes to Demetrius Andrade, he has faced Akavov, he's faced Solanke, and them two, because Jamal Charlo ain't faced nobody else. The other guy, Sebastian Hyland, he had injured feet. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, Sebastian Hyland, good fighter, ranked pretty high. Was supposed to face Cotto or Gennady Golovkin, and they didn't face him. But the problem with Sebastian Hyland, he was injured, so you can't rate that, But in the case of them other two guys I talk about, Akavov and Solanke, man, Solanke just fought Danny Jacobs, right? And Akavov, he fought Billy Joe Saunders. Them both had fought championship fights. You know what I'm saying? Whereas with Hyland hadn't touched any top tier guys. Okay, so just off of that, Demetrius Andrade has been a much better fight, and then he fought mostly middleweights. Okay, Jamal Charlo fought some 154 pounders, good fighters and stuff, but 154 pounders. It's not that you doing like the GGG thing. So I'm just saying that. Why don't you fight authentic middleweights? So I would like to see Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo Alvarez and let him cancel all plans. Eddie Hearn should be pushing for that. Now that Billy Joe Saunders is out of the picture, he should put his next fight up, which is Demetrius Andrade. Let's get it on, baby. Let's get it on 168. That's a good option. They're talking about Jamal Charlo, but I think Andrade is the guy Canelo should face next. That's a fight I always wanted to see, even before the Kovalov fight, even when he had all the belts except for one. I was just happy. He faced Danny Jacobs. I was great about that, happy about that. Now I wanted to see him face Demetrius Andrade, which is a much sharper fighter and just as versatile as Danny Jacobs, if not a little bit more. I wanted to see that fight, and I still want to see it to this day. He had his, stay busy fight with Kovalov. Now come back down, face Demetrius Andrade, Canelo. We all want to see that shit, and that's a fight I'm going to guarantee you guys, just like the Danny Jacobs fight, that's going to actually give DAZN much more subscribers, because a lot of people are going to see the versatility and skill in Demetrius Andrade, and a lot of people are going to be impressed by Canelo. Now, yeah, Canelo could lose this fight because Demetrius Andrade ain't lost a fight in years. Okay, he's like an Andre Ward of boxing. But at the end of the day, gotta see it, baby. Gotta see it. This is a win. If Canelo beats Demetrius Andrade, this is gonna be a bona fide, straight up great win. People could argue, well, Demetrius Andrade move up in weight. Well, that might be so, but he's actually a big middleweight, so it don't really matter. He didn't get to test out the waters enough, but he got the skill to pay the bills. So I'm just saying, if you gotta fight a fight, Demetrius Andrade is the fight. Okay, Jamal Charlo's great, but I don't want to see that fight. All right, with Canelo, not right now. I want Demetrius Andrade fight before that, and I'll salivate over that shit if they can make that happen. Of course, it depends on if the COVID ID 19, you know, that situation with the shutdown of the place is reversed. But at the end of the day, that's a great fight. Canelo said he wants one fight before he faces Gennady Golovkin. This the fight he should have. All right, I've been saying it all along. Billy Joe Saunders, great fight too. Billy Joe Saunders fucked his situation up. So let's see Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo Alvarez. All right, that's what I want to see. And, you know, let's see it, you know. Canelo would have to give Andrade a shot. He would have to give him a break. I hope he does. Andrade's a tough opponent. But Canelo got experience. So I definitely would love to see that fight. I love to see that fight. That's a real challenge for Canelo, and how he navigates through that, I would love to see. Or whether Demetrius Andrade overpowers Canelo and gets the W on the scorecards, which is possible as well. I mean, Andrade is the guy that can run away on you just like that. So I would love to see that fight. That's a fight I really want to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. All right. So I think Billy Joe Saunders lost his shot when he was suspended. I'm hoping that he would learn his lesson. Sometimes vocalizing certain things. I don't know if you probably want to do that to your wife, that you didn't do it, that he came out there to vent. I don't know, but what I do know is that was something that was just rather, not just stupid, but dangerous. Dangerous. And so Billy Joe Saunders needs to check himself, you know, if he wants to have a career in boxing and actually face worthy contenders, worthy people, worthy champions. Okay. But at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez, you know, it's up to him. But if I was Canelo, I wasn't gonna give him a shot at all. He messed up his shot, and so I would give Demetrius Andrade the shot. All right, people. I'm what you need. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, share, subscribe, and you can always donate via Western Union or MoneyGram. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.